Iceland, Europe's westernmost frontier. The last country of the continent to be settled by man and the most sparsely populated with the world's greatest concentration of active volcanoes. The superlatives could go on. Some warm the hearts of Icelanders like the natural resources of their island. Others make their blood run cold. The IMF called the 2008 crash of Icelandic banks the biggest financial collapse in history relative to the size of an economy.
There was massive fraud, and they were fraudulent. For the last years they were working. They were lending money to each other like mad, and they were cooking their books to make the accounts look better. The thing is, if somebody steals a bottle of vodka from a store, he will get prosecuted and he will get put into prison. But if he has a suit and a tie and he steals millions with cooking his books, he probably won't get prosecuted.
He wants justice and clear answers to the question who was responsible for the crash of the Icelandic banks. Public TV show host and blogger Egil Helgason is one of the country's most outspoken political commentators. In 2009, he was encouraged to enter politics, but he decided to stay in the media to question people in power.
And in this country, there's always this danger in a small society of these small bands, these small cliques being able to take over. That was really the situation for almost 20 years before the crash, that we had a small clique of politicians, bankers, liberalists who had sort of almost taken over society. And this is something that we have to be aware of.
Privatised in 2002, Iceland's three main banks began taking big risks, issuing bonds on international markets. In just 6 years, the new owners had increased the value of the banks to 12 times the size of the Icelandic state budget. Fueled by foreign money, the economy was flying high. Iceland's 300,000 or so people were ranked among the happiest and the richest in the world, until, that is, September 2008, when Iceland's banks collapsed. The bust was as momentous as the boom. Icelanders admit they'd become obsessed with easy money.
A famous economist said that this was collective madness. I think it was collective madness, but not everybody profited from it. But still, some people still keep the profits from this period, but most, in the end, society lost out, the individuals lost out, everybody lost out.
Bjarndis Mitchell will soon lose her house. She's one of the many Icelanders whose mortgages skyrocketed after the crash. A passionate dog breeder, she's a mother of 3 living on a disability pension. But she owes €185,000 on the house, more than it would fetch, even if she could sell it, on the outskirts of Keflavik, an area ravaged by unemployment. Bankrupt financially, she's rich in hope.
Yes, this is the world of handlers. Welcome to Handlers. After the crash, I just sat there stunned like the rest of the country and just thought, this is crazy. The magnitude of this crash and the effect that it had on every house and every family in this country was so immense, it was unfathomable. And I thought, we have to do something, just something, anything, to provide an export or whatever. And that stayed paramount in my mind. And being a disabled woman with no power, no money, nothing, I didn't think I had anything.
But she did have a passion for dog breeding, something she could market. And she had the will to keep her head above water.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to present the CEO of Handlers, Bjarndis.
With guidance and funding from local bodies, in 2009 she set up in business.
We market through our catalogue.
The 3,000 dog show leads she's sold so far aren't enough to reach break-even, but she's not downhearted.
I'd rather be making an effort, and I'd rather die trying, making an effort to a solution or towards a solution, even though it's just a drop in the ocean to the magnitude of what we are facing. I'd rather die trying than not try at all. Definitely, it's the Viking spirit. It's do it, just do it. Go for it. Do what it takes. Have courage. Yeah, that's definitely very Icelandic.
As Icelanders bounce back individually, they're trying to do it as a society too. The future of their democracy is at stake. They were Europe's first indignados. By January 2009, what had started as a reaction to the financial crisis had transformed into the biggest protests Iceland had seen since joining NATO in 1949. Icelanders demanded radical change, a new democracy, a new constitution, replacing the one written by the once ruling Danish king. At 25 years old, Ástrós Gunnlaugsdóttir is the youngest member of the Constitutional Assembly, a group of 25 men and women directly elected by society to review the constitution. This radical attempt at direct democracy has been invalidated by Iceland's Supreme Court, an institution dominated by the country's two main political parties. She wants to see more fairness and transparency in her small society.
I can't appoint my friend just because he's my friend. I have to have. You have to be qualified for the job, and all of that. We are only 300,000, so it's easy to say that I know him, so I just give him the job, and or he gave him the job because they know each other or something. So things like that for me are very important to change for him also.
The banking crash changed Icelanders' sense of priorities profoundly. The soul searching has been done on a national scale.
The way of living has changed a lot. People are not going abroad like once a month like we did, and people are just, I think, a little bit pulling back and enjoying other things in life, like their families and spending their monies differently.
Sveinbjörn Petersen is 55. Jobless since 2008, he's one of those who faces a reality barely known in Iceland before the crash: unemployment. From 3% before 2008, it soared to 9% after the bank's collapse. For him, people had to stick together when faced with losing one's role in society.
It was quite a shock for everyone. And you know, the governmental bodies didn't have any know-how how to deal with such a big unemployment rate. So I had the idea actually then, maybe we should, those of us that are unemployed, we should form a group, like a support group for us, and also like a group that has ideas to hand over to the governments or those that are ruling of how we should be treated.
Iceland's central bank says positive signs of recovery are there, but they're fragile. Economic growth last year was 3.1%, unemployment fell to 7.1%, and levels of private debt are easing slightly. Icelanders face some important choices: whether to remain a society driven by resources or to rely more on innovation. They're also asking whether to join the European Union or continue on their own.